board meeting. Please rise for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Jeff Renahan, first ward.
Bill Carlos, second ward.
Ann Berger, third ward.
Michael Sifon, fourth ward.
Ann Shershin, sixth ward.
Felicia Salvatore, Town Clerk.
Jim Nelson, attorney for the town.
Megan Clementi, Vandewater and Vandewater.
John Bailey, Town Supervisor. Welcome, everybody, to tonight's meeting. And on tonight's agenda, the first item on the agenda will be a public hearing for Poughkeepsie Day School. The second item on the agenda will be accept the retirement of William Holland, Sergeant with the Police Department. Item 3 will be accept the retirement of Dawn Mellos, Detective with the Town of Poughkeepsie Police Department. Number 3, accept the retirement of Christopher Rosa, Police Officer with the Town of Poughkeepsie Police Department. 4, appoint Brooke A. Page, Evidence Technician with the Town of Poughkeepsie Police Department. 6, authorize the supervisor to sign an icon lease agreement for radios with the Police Department. 7, authorize the supervisor to sign Dutchess County intermunicipal agreement for threat assessment. 8, authorize the supervisor to sign Axon Master Service and Purchasing Agreement for Police Department car and body cameras. 9, authorize the supervisor to sign Dutchess County intermunicipal agreement for Police Department body cameras. 10, appoint Taryn Riley Personnel Administrator. 11, set a date for a public hearing on the Town Code Amendment 183-2 Senior Citizen Exemptions. 12, authorize the supervisor to sign a 2023 dial-a-ride change order. 13, ratify the supervisor's execution of Dutchess County Municipal Amendment Extension for purchasing services with Dutchess County. 14, a resolution accepting the resignation of Lydia Higgins, appointed Christopher M. Disturbance to the Historic Preservation Society. 15, authorize the supervisor to sign a wireless service agreement with Cityscape. 16, authorize the supervisor to sign the undertaking secured by cash deposit agreements for 1984 South Road Site Restoration, White Waters. 17, authorize special consents 1 and 2. Special consent 1 would be a vacation rollover of James Bynum in the Sewer Department. SC 2 would be 9/11 street names for Raymond Avenue School redevelopment. With that, I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules for any item on the agenda except for a public hearing. If anybody would like to speak on any item from 2 on through to the SCs, this is the time. Make a motion. Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Is that Doreen? Whoever's got their phone. You got it? Thank you. Doreen, sorry.
I'd like to talk about the agenda item number 12, the 2023 contract with Dial-A-Ride. And I talked to the supervisor about this briefly today. It would be good if you could, I know a number of years back, there was increase in the days for the Dial-A-Ride for town residents, but it doesn't cover every day of the week, and it doesn't cover all day, every day in certain areas. And, you know, not everyone has a family member to take them to appointments, and it would really, I think, be a good use of town taxpayer dollars if you could look into expanding those hours.
Yeah, agreed, Doreen. We expanded them once to see if, we can change them, and one of your issues is the paratransit ride, the distance they have to take to get to the ride, to see if we can find a way to change that also.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Is there anybody else that wants to speak on any agenda items other than the public hearing? Craig, did you have something about any of the other agenda items?
No, let me bring my hand down, I'm sorry.
That's okay. There's quite a few people that have signed up to speak here in the meeting room, and then we'll go to Zoom after that at this point. But, so anybody else on agenda items in the audience at all?
If not, motion to resume the rules?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I'd like to make a motion to open public hearing number 1. Monroe hearing determination of Poughkeepsie Day School, seeker the bond and the survey. Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Now is the time that I'll give people a chance to speak on the public hearing for the Poughkeepsie Day School, which is a police court facility that we've been working on since 2019, when we got a grant from Dutchess County to do a study with Arlington Fire and the town to consolidate everything together. And when we thought it was rather expensive, we separated from the Arlington Fire, and we went on our own and looked at multiple locations throughout the town. Going through this process, and we ironed ourselves down to Poughkeepsie Day School as the location that we thought was best suitable for the town of Poughkeepsie Police Court facility, with recreation as added features to it, and possible town hall at a later date. With that, I'd like to make a motion to open that.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Felicia?
Mr. Supervisor, I assume that you're inviting people to speak as to the Monroe resolution public hearing. But are you also asking them at the public hearing to address the other item ones,
Yes.
the seeker and
No,
the bond
They
resolution?
want to hear, they can't hear you, Jim.
The volume is very low.
All four.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. And we ask everybody, please keep their comments to 3 minutes, that there is a large crowd tonight.
Okay, so I have a list, a page, and I'm going to bring the second page outside because there's so many people that have come in since. So I'm going to go off this list, and then I'm going to leave a list outside if somebody doesn't feel they're on the list and they want to run out. We have at least 20 so far, so you have time to sign up for the second list. The first person is Jim Challey.
Good evening. I'm Jim Challey, live at 35 Park Avenue. First of all, I want to say that I completely support the idea of finding a new location for the police station and headquarters. I've been around a while. Back 25 years ago, there were a number of us that suggested that the present location was a poor one for a number of reasons. At the time, the town board, let's just say, had other priorities in purchasing that building for the police department. But I'm here because, as many of you know, for the last few years, I had the privilege of serving on the committee that reviewed the town's master plan. And I think there are a number of issues that came up during that review, and in the final plan, which you folks adopted a few months ago. And I think they're relevant to the issue that's before us tonight. In 2007, a new master plan was adopted that took a rather different approach, and the key theme was what they called centers and green spaces. And between 2020 and 2022, the committee reviewed this, revised it, and essentially came up with a refined version of this idea of town centers and green spaces. Some of the key points were, one, that new development should be focused in existing town centers. Two, that development should prioritize revitalizing and redeveloping existing developed areas, both spaces and buildings. Three, we should be protecting residential areas. And four, we should preserve existing green spaces. Now, the town centers that were identified included Arlington, the Fairview, Hudson Highlands area, New Hamburg, and the very recent Eastdale. The plan also identifies a few other areas that could potentially develop into town centers, places like South Hills, the Crown Heights area along South Road, so on. Okay.
20 seconds.
Now, the basic idea between a town center was that this should be a mixed-use area, commercial, retail, multifamily housing, and it should be focused enough to have the kind of density and activity that would encourage a number of different things. First of all, to provide support for small businesses by attracting customers. Small enough to be walkable, dense enough so that public transportation makes sense. It should have the best infrastructure, from high-speed internet to water and sewer. But almost most of all, it should serve as a kind of economic and social center for surrounding neighborhoods, a place that has an identity, so that when you're there, you know you're there. Okay.
Jim, your time's just about up.
Okay, I'm gonna be quick. Okay, unfortunately, the current proposal does none of this. And in fact, what it does is to move the center of local government out of a town center, completely contrary to our master plan. The new location is in a long-established residential neighborhood. The only exceptions that it's been used historically, and actually at the present, for research and educational purposes. But these uses have served to preserve some much needed green space in that area. The new location would not be walkable. In fact, for many parts of the town, it's not even easy to drive there. It's really out of the way. There's no public transportation at all. And worst, it's simply isolated. And
Jim, can you wrap it up?
locating the town center there does nothing to help local businesses. And just as bad, there's nothing around it to support a new town hall. No place to go have lunch,
Jim, can you wrap it up?
no place to run errands. Quite simply, the current proposal is the wrong place. Thank you.
If you have any comments, Jim, that you didn't get to and you want to email them to me, feel free.
Yeah.
The next person is Nancy Mahar.
As many of you know, my husband Tom spent many years fighting against locating the police and courts on the SB property, which was then and still is sinking on top of a landfill. More than 20 years have passed, and all these years later, the police and courts are still in this unhealthy and unsafe place, with the need to relocate becoming more desperate and urgent by the day. I urge the town board to prioritize the needs of the police and courts by immediately finding a location that at long last meets their needs and theirs alone. They need to be on or near large and major highways for safe and easy entrance and egress. They need to be in a central and accessible location, not tucked away on narrow streets in a residential area. Residents on Colburn Drive already have difficulty accessing Spackenkill Road because of the precarious hill that makes visibility, even with a light, very difficult. How much longer are our town police supposed to wait? Are we now attaching their needs to the backs of an elaborate proposal that may or may not pass in these fiscally unstable times? After waiting at least 20 years, are we now asking them to be beholden to a $50 million plus venture that may or may not ever come to fruition, one that won't even meet their needs if it does? I see signs all over the town to support our police. Is this the way we support our police? Our police and courts need and deserve to be in a central and accessible location that meets their personnel, traffic, and density needs, not one that will trade one set of problems for another. I want to take this opportunity to thank our police and court system for putting our needs first for all these years. It's time for us to prioritize theirs.
Thank you, Nancy. Kelly Lappin.
Good evening. My name is Kelly Lappin. I've lived in the town of Poughkeepsie for more than 29 years. I've also served on the Arlington Board of Education for 15 years. I'm requesting that you support a public referendum for this very, very expensive proposal to allow the public, your taxpayers, to have a say in a project that will cost them this enormous amount of money. Schools are the most fundamentally democratic institutions in our society today. The public votes on their budgets and does not vote on any other budgets, including yours. But schools also have to put up large projects by referendum to their community. It's absolutely reasonable for this to be presented to the town of Poughkeepsie community for a decision, just as every building proposal in the Arlington School District has been presented to the community. Please be as transparent as your community expects you to be by supporting a referendum on this proposal. The public has a right to weigh in on something that will affect them directly in such a significant manner. I also want to make it clear that I'm in agreement with everyone in this room and our community that our police deserve a facility that is safe and not sinking into a landfill. Please make that your highest priority. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
George Martin, or Georgette, I'm sorry.
Hi, I'm Georgette Martin. Is that going through?
Yeah.
I live in Ward 4, Mike Savone's ward. I also support a new building for the police. Their job is hazardous enough. They shouldn't have to go to work in a hazardous building. Also, as far as moving a $55 million bond and moving the town hall, I find that just nonsensical. I've lived in the town of Poughkeepsie over 50 years and Dutchess County over 70 years. And now, right now, I am regretting it. I cannot believe how you're putting a squeeze on the seniors, especially on the senior citizens, on fixed incomes, with the inflation being how it is. We're already getting a bond for the county's new jail. Then it came out today that the county wants a $25 million bond for updating the renegades. I mean, it's getting tough out there if you're on a fixed income. And I don't think it's right that you're squeezing people that's lived here their whole life, spent all their paycheck, raised their family, and can't afford to stay in what they thought was their home. I think if you were to get a new building for the police and put this on hold for a while, I mean, the only thing I can see you getting out of this is bigger offices. We don't need that right now. What we need is a new police station, and we need to, put it off for a while because of inflation, and also the experts are saying we're going to go into recession. The economy is not very stable right now. It's not a good time to take out a $55 million bond. And that's basically how I feel, and I think you should bring it up to the people you represent to find out what they think, because you are our representatives. You're employed by us, not the other way around. So that's how I feel.
Thank you.
Thank you. Myrna Ross.
My name is Myrna Ross. I live in town of Poughkeepsie at 2 Sun Lane. I've lived there for 52 years in that house. Yeah. I'm not old enough, but there you go. I raised my kids there. I worked there. And obviously, I was involved, by the way, as a citizen when the current police station location and court was purchased, and I don't even want to go into my opinion of what happened then. However, I agree with everything everyone has said here. We know that that was a mistake, and we need to correct it. I would like to know specifically what other locations were inspected, looked at, considered before this one was decided upon. I would like to know what the environmental impact statement says about this location. And I would like to know, there was something else, but I'm really old and I forget things in the middle of a sentence. I think it's time that the citizens who pay for these things are consulted. And what Georgette said is definitely something we all need to think about. Everyone up there works for us. We do not work for you. You need to take your citizens into account, what's good for them, whether or not it is personally something that you like or think should be done. I agree with having a referendum, and I would like to see that happen sooner rather than later.
Thank you.
Janet Gray?
Hi, I'm Janet Gray, and I live on Park Avenue in the town of Poughkeepsie. Like everyone who's spoken so far, I remember all too well the really criminal decision to move the police and courts to the current facility. It was an environmental disaster then. It's remained an environmental and now structural disaster. They should not be there, and I totally support our police department and moving them to a safe and centrally located and appropriate place. I do not believe the Poughkeepsie Day School Plan fills those needs. Among other things, I worry deeply about the kinds of tax increase that will be levied as a consequence of moving forward with these bonds. We're already at a point where renters are here, homestead folks are here, and of course, small business people are beyond here. They will feel the crunch for the next 25 years. For such an important decision, like others, I really, really hope we will take this to a public referendum. This is the kind of issue that the public needs to decide. So I ask you to vote for a referendum, and if not, then perhaps the citizens will move it. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I have a question before the next speaker comes up. I just have a question. Out of everybody here, did everybody get a chance to look at the Mitchell report? Okay, you all saw that report, and you saw the feasibility study report? Okay, I just want to make sure, because I just want to make sure you guys have seen the report, and a lot of you talk about the town hall moving. Town hall is not moving. This is strictly a police court facility. If town hall's ever moved, that's a long time away. This building is solid. We're not looking to move that. We're looking to save our police officers and the civilians that work over there. That's what this building's about. We have looked at a lot of different properties, and Supervisor Baisley can tell you what properties we've looked at. He's spent a lot of hours looking at these. This is not something, a wish list we just came up with. This is...
Save the comments.
Next.
Okay, I just want to make sure everybody, I want to hear everybody's opinion, but I just want you to know, this isn't something we just whipped up, okay?
Michael DeCova?
I just wanted to ask a question. I understand that. I just wanted to make sure we're all on the same page, that's all. Okay, I'm allowed to say something, and I wanted to make sure everybody got to see the study, that's all, okay? No, I'm asking if everybody saw it, and I got an answer that you all did see it, thank you. Okay, all right, I'm just making sure, because I haven't seen, okay, thank you.
Next up, we have Michael DeCova.
Good evening, thank you for your time.
Michael?
I have not seen that.
Okay.
I would love for published copies to be made available in the front hall. Maybe they were, because I would like to study it a lot more. In that regard, I would suggest that a question-answer session be made available before a second public hearing, before even a referendum. So I don't, as far as I know, this was the first public hearing. There probably should be more based upon the turnout. So I don't, because I haven't read it, I don't know what the estimated construction cost is, but $50 million or $54 million, I didn't even do the math on 54 million. I'm not sure what the actual number is, but you could rent 50,000 square feet building at $15 a square foot for 66 years for that money. And that doesn't include the amortization on the $50 million that's being borrowed. I'd like to know how much the town has invested in the Tucker Drive facility, which many people opposed many years ago. I have a different angle on a lot of this, being a real estate person. I'd like to know when the IBM certiorari tax agreement expires. and if the town hall thinks that IBM will seek a lower assessment, and if so, by how much. I'd like to ask the town hall if they believe that big box stores are a thing of the past. And if they are, how much the town can expect to have in lower assessed values based upon malls going out of business and seeking a lower tax evaluation. That lower tax valuation is going to increase taxes for residential properties much harder than anything in the past, because as you know, the commercial tax base provides a larger per $1,000 of value than does the residential. So every decrease in the commercial tax base is going to have an exponential converse effect on the residential tax base. I'd like to know how long you expect it's going to take to market the police facility, and perhaps this is in the report of how much it's expected to bring in purchase price. As far as I know, we still have an empty building on Route 55, and I'm told that's empty because there's pollution under it. It's an eyesore to the town, and although Tucker Drive facility is not as visible a location, that has the potential for being another eyesore and an empty building for many years to come. So in summary, I agree with what everyone else has said. I was opposed to purchasing this property many, many years ago for the town police. And I was disappointed at the time that they didn't buy memberships for Gold's Gym. We spent more money to build a gymnasium. The police deserve a place to exercise, but they were putting good money in after bad. We knew it at the time. You're not going to pay for that decision. The police shouldn't have to pay for it.
Michael, your time's just about up.
In addition to lowering assessed value, the decline of the malls and retail value will mean lower rental rates. And so if the town can somehow bite its tongue and wait, the opportunity to move into JCPenney or Sears or Macy's or, God forbid, some other facility, it'll be much more attractive financially. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anna DeCova? I'm sure I'm saying that.
Hi, I'm Anna DeCordova. I live in Poughkeepsie on New Hackensack Road. I agree with much of what's been said tonight. I'm going to circle back to where we started with Jim Challey and just say that using the tools we have, using our planning tools and sharpening pencils, a lot of things take my breath away as far as cost these days. $54.8 million is staggering to a level I can barely understand. But finding a new home for the police, using our planning tools, means that we're looking for an expensive project to be a win-win. To have that location and all of the work that's done there and the people who need that space to be contributing to our economy in a town center is a way to leverage the dollars we're going to have to spend on constructing or renting or finding a proper home for the police. So I think that's a lot of work to be done, and there could be a success built into that kind of thinking using the tools we already have. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Paul Herman?
Good evening. My name is Paul Herman. I'm the president of the Town of Poughkeepsie Retirees, and I'm a retired police officer with the Town of Poughkeepsie. I started my law enforcement career in the city of Poughkeepsie back in 1990, and because of concerns with asbestos in the building, they had us in trailers. So for the first 3 years of my career, we operated out of trailers, only because the leaders of the city knew the building was unsafe to work in, and because they cared about the employees of the city. I guess I'm here to ask the board, do you really care? Let's take work here. C, complicated. With the purchase of the building back in 1996 for over $6 million, when it could have purchased the building for $1 the year before because the owner wanted out, you inherited the start of the nightmare. Nothing ever went right with this building, and it was not your problem. You inherited it by the previous town boards and supervisors. A, accountability. Over the past 25 years, nothing has been an easy fix, nor was it ever done in a timely manner or even at all. AC issues findings that there was no ductwork ran throughout the building. Leaks all over the building, especially at the court section of the building. And your fix is to put garbage cans to catch the water and replace the water-soaked tiles to make it all look nice. But hey, don't worry about the black mold that's festering above the tiles, and this has been going on for years. The locker rooms. Having cleaners dump bleach and cleaning solutions into the drains of the locker room to keep the smells of the gases down that lie below. Showers of the locker room, because there were never drains installed over the years, dirt holding up the floor washed away, causing the floor to collapse. And earlier this year, you had a fire in the floor of the men's locker room. The fire department responded, had the jackhammer the floor to find the source of the fire. And it was found that it was foam injected into the floor by a company you hired to stabilize the floor and had a chemical reaction with the gases that lie below. The union pays for an independent contractor to come in and test the air quality in the vents, but conveniently you have a company come and clean the vents prior to the test, but they didn't get all of them. I attended a meeting with the company that did the test and was giving us their test results and the findings. He gave us his scientific mumbo jumbo, and I asked, is there anything that is safe, that is a safety concern that could cause cancer? He said it's a 1 in a million chance, but never confirmed. With that being said, I put an email out to any retired members that had any health issues to please let me know. Well, let's just say the list was long to those who even wanted to tell me about their health problems. 15 members have or had serious health issues. 2 with early sets of Alzheimer's, both in their 50s, and 1 of which just passed away last month at the age of 56. The other 13 members have cancer, 7 of which have passed away. There was a report done by Vassar College back in the 70s of all the stuff that was being dumped into the ground at the local landfill, AKA Town of Poughkeepsie Court Facility. The items that were dumped into chemicals from the dry cleaners, one of the side effects is to cause miscarriages. It's kind of scary when you have 13 female officers that work in the police department and over 5 at town court. These are just a few of the hundreds of complaints that I can go on to state in that building for over the last 25 years. R, responsibility. Back in 2019, there was a study done by the town on 5 firehouses, town hall, and the police court building. There were 4 options recommended by this study for the police court facility. Option A, which was to maintain and upgrade. These upgrades will address general life safety issues identified in the report, and it goes on to say, as I quote, due to the unknown settlement issues that arise in the next 5 years, a temporary relocation plan should be considered for the current police court facility. A contingency fund should be considered by the town for such an emergency. Also at the bottom of option A, it says in bold letters, take note, this is not a viable solution for the police court facility due to the deterioration of the site and the building conditions that persist at that facility. So you have a study done, it's right there in black and white where it clearly states that the building has some serious issues and that you should really look for a temporary place to house the police and court facility until you figure out what's going on into looking for a permanent facility. Let me remind you, that report was done 4 years ago. Was there ever a conversation stating that we need to come up with a plan? Nope, it just seems that you kick the can down the road and hope for the best. I was also told that there was a buyer for the building that wanted to take this nightmare off the hands of the town, wanted to move in, but you wanted to negotiate a 2-year lease to keep the police court building there until the other building was done. In my eyes, you have failed your employees. E, evacuate. I'm sure you have your reasons on why you, I'm almost done. I'm sure you have your reasons on why you want to go into the old day school. Don't know why you wouldn't research other locations like the IBM site, which could house everything you want and more. For those here who are complaining about the town wanting to move forward on the day school, I'm sure you have your reasons, but I really don't care what they are, but I do care about, however, about each and every person that works in the police court facility. In closing, we have one of the best police departments in the area and one of the busiest courts in the state of New York. We ask our officers to go out each and every day to enforce the local laws of the town and state and keep our citizens safe while putting their lives on the line with the unknown of each and every call. Because being a cop, we all know, no call is routine. It's just sad that there's more of a danger when they go back to headquarters at the end of the shift with all the unknowns of the police court facility. Thank you.
Thank you.
Judy Adler? I'm not sure if I said your points were covered? Okay. I'm gonna go to Karen Ferguson. You sure? Sorry. Gretchen Lieb?
Hello. My name's Gretchen Lieb. I've lived in the town of Poughkeepsie for 20 years as a renter and as a working professional. I got a master's degree. I have a good job. I cannot afford to rent a decent apartment, let alone buy a house in Poughkeepsie, the town of Poughkeepsie. And I fail to understand why you would put this burden on taxpayers right now instead of doing something that would cost less and would relieve the emergency that was just described of the police department, instead of a boondoggle of redeveloping a school in a residential neighborhood. And I would go back to what Jim Challey talked about your town plan. I was here at some of those meetings. It talked about green space, preserving green space in the town centers, just as Jim said. And this, like everything else that has happened since that plan has been written, goes exactly against what the plan says to do. There are plenty of buildings that could be more quickly renovated for a police department. And it does not, I would not wish this on the people who live on Boardman Road. Because I, right now, am living with a hotel being developed next to where I live. And it's not fun. And it doesn't belong there. And a police department does not belong on Boardman Road. Everybody who drives there would know that. The way that we're dealing with traffic, by not dealing with it, by not planning, by not understanding the impact until it's already happening, is just completely wrong. And you have guiding documents that you've worked hard on, like the town plan. So this to me is crazy. And I think you would all know that if a referendum does happen, it'll be voted down because we're all feeling the pinch and we all want the police to be able to be in an appropriate location that's central, that's not out in some residential hilly neighborhood with access issues. That would it would be years down the road before that site is ready. And meanwhile, you could be doing something temporary or long-term. Look at the way that the JCPenney was retrofitted for a vaccine site. That kind of a building is more readily redeveloped into a site like this than something like a school, which, I mean, I have seen schools like that renovated into beautiful housing, senior housing, or any kind of appropriate housing. That's what we need in that kind of neighborhood, is places for single people and older people and families to live. It's already, it's a perfect project for housing, not for a police department. And I think that I would think that that the townspeople will see this for the boondoggle that it is. And I think it's really unfortunate. We all want the police to be in a healthy, better environment, and to take advantage of that desire by giving this ridiculous project people will see through it. And it's really inappropriate. And what I don't understand, I'm hesitant to bring it up because it's already done, the Arthur S. May School actually would have been an appropriate school to retrofit because it's right next to Route 44, it's right in a town center. Why didn't that happen? Why is this happening? Because I would feel terrible for the residents of Boardman Road. So.
Thank you, Gretchen.
Thank you.
Lisa Call.
Good evening, I'm Lisa Cole and I live on Boardman Road. But like a lot of people in this room, I think twice before I make a large purchase. Well, heck, these days, I even think twice before making a small purchase. Do I really need it? Can I manage without it? If not, what are my options? I examine my options and I ask, where can I get the best deal? Can I afford it? In other words, I am careful and I comparison shop. I think there are a lot of people in this room who, like me, also comparison shop. Not because we have so much time on our hands, but because we have to. And yet, the town has presented us with only one option, the Mitchell report notwithstanding, and with a sticker price that actually drives home the concept of sticker shock. $50-odd million? Neighboring New Paltz has built a similar, albeit smaller, facility for something to the tune of $8 million. Hyde Park spent $2.8 million. What were the other options that the board considered before it settled on both this property and this configuration? Why did the board decide that this was the most fiscally responsible plan? Even though I am in support of the relocation of the police and court facilities, and I think it's urgent, I can't help wonder whether the board is just so removed from the everyday reality of people's lives that it thinks it's okay to burden the taxpayers with, I don't know, maybe a 10% increase? Or is it just cavalier about spending other people's money? Now, I rarely do this, but today I'm going to invite you, I'm going to challenge you to show me that I am mistaken in my belief about you. Show me, show us the choices we have. Let us make the choices. Prove to us that you are capable of making fiscally prudent decisions that are in the best interest of the taxpayer and the community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jim Finnegan?
My name is Jim Finnegan. I live on Division Street in New Hamburg. And I just want to say that I am in support of relocating the police department to a better facility. But this whole project, which may or may not include the town halls being relocated, does seem like a huge boondoggle, especially with its price tag. For the price tag, we really need to have some kind of a public referendum on this for public's input. That's all I really have to say. Otherwise, I really just don't know how to say, it just seems like a big Republican boondoggle to me.
Charlie Graves?
Hi, Carly.
Carly, sorry, Carly.
Yeah, my points have already been made. I too support a healthy police area for the police and good access as needed.
Ma'am, you have to come to the microphone if you want to.
Can't hear you.
Okay, my points have been made.
Okay, thank you.
Ilana, I'm sorry, Vinklerova. Are you sure?
Yep, thank you.
Points have been made?
Correct.
Stephanie Fiella?
Good evening. My name is Stephanie Fiella. I live on Lynn Road, which would be terribly affected by this project. My home runs parallel to Spackenkill Road, and I ask you, have you done any traffic studies to see if Spackenkill Road can support the amount of traffic that this project is going to cause for the community? Because I can tell you, every morning from 7:30 to 9 o'clock, there is a backflow of cars at a dead stop from the light of Boardman Road, which is a dangerous intersection, all the way down to the Red Oaks Mill Park. With that being said, have you also done environmental studies? And where are these studies? Why isn't it accessible to the people in the community? This is not a project, this is not a good location for this project. This is a strictly residential area
we would be truly impacted by having such a facility in this area. The spend of $54 million, I can tell you right now, I called the tax department this morning. My taxes went up, and I was told by the department that most of the other homeowners, on an average, we all took a 20% property tax increase that supported the school and the new assessments. We can't afford anymore. We cannot afford it. I don't know, you can't get blood from a stone here. You know, and we all are saying the same thing. The police need a new place they need a new facility. It's not healthy for them. But this is not the right project. It's too expensive on our backs, and it's not the right location. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jim Beretta?
Okay, Jim Beretta, 29 Colburn Drive. Living on Colburn Drive, we are right across Spackenkill Road from where this project is proposed. I have dreaded this since the first time I heard that that site was being considered. I am totally opposed to that location. I'm being clear about that. Yes, I live there. You want to call it not in my backyard, fine. Because if this goes through, I will undoubtedly be back here with some kind of complaint about construction or noise or whatever, but once that thing starts to roll, it's gonna really affect our life. The traffic is terrible there now. The intersection is dangerous. It's very busy. A lot of times somebody has to be polite and just let us out, and then you gotta watch traffic both ways, and you gotta watch people pulling into, because they make right-hand turns onto Boardman Road. They use the shoulder. And if somebody lets you out and your nose sticks over there, these Lord's kids, but there's other people too, they come flying up there. It's really dangerous. This project is supposed to have, so noise. I mean, this isn't just a, 9 to 5 project that you're proposing here. The police department, so we're gonna have that traffic. Sirens during the night, summer times when you maybe can have your window open. We're going to be listening to more sirens. The athletic fields, we're going to be listening to that. All right, so that's traffic more hours. The court is traffic more hours. In terms of noise, like I said, the athletic fields, I mean, if you're going to be having baseball, soccer, I mean, there's going to be, that kind of stuff going on. And right now on Colburn Drive, we listen to the PA system from Spackenkill School. We listen to the PA system from Lourdes. And we also listen to the church that's now where Faith Assembly was. They have some sort of concerts or something over there. We're listening to that too. So this is yet a net add to more stuff that's going to be going on. Taxes, our assessment went up 37% this time, okay? So now we're talking about, from what I saw in the materials, you're looking at like a 10% tax hike. And that's going to be, I guess, would have to go on for a long time if you're talking about upwards to $72 million. So I'm just going to be, and also the construction, if that can go to a maximum of 24 months, I mean, we're going to be listening to that, dealing with the traffic impacts, the noise, the dust. And right now behind my house, I'm listening to rock hammering down at Woods of Cliffdale. I've been listening to that for days. That is not fun. And so back to my first statement, I dread thinking about this project at that location. It's going to affect our life, our quality of life, and I'm opposed to it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Doreen, you're next.
So, Councilman Safone, you asked if people read the materials provided?
Yes.
And I think you would know that I read materials provided. And the materials provided tonight, for tonight's meeting, included the environmental assessment form. I'm going to speak on that. That environmental assessment form says that you will need, or are proposing, 489 parking spaces. So Right now, there's 148 parking spaces. So that is an increase of 341 parking spaces on that site. The impervious surface, like 30% of the site is going to be covered in impervious surface. The claim is that 30% of the site is forested and there will be no decrease before and after. I don't know how that can be the case. And one of the things when you remove trees, which we have heard in our neighborhood, many people don't seem to realize, the more trees you cut, the more noise you end up hearing. I grew up in the city of Poughkeepsie down near the Mid-Hudson Bridge. Inside our house, we can hear the trains just about as loud as when I was a kid down in the city. So, and that doesn't matter if you have your windows open or closed. So the more development, the more trees that get cut, the more noise that you have. And other people have talked about taxes and how people are having problems affording their cost of living. Our assessment went up 37% on our house, and that was with no improvements. Because of that, our Wappingers school tax increased by nearly $840. Now, our Arlington fire taxes, because of our raised assessment, is probably a rough calculation between $400 and $500 more than we paid previously. I have no idea how much this is going to cost us. Luckily, we don't have to make the choice of whether we want to buy food or medicine or pay our taxes, but that's not the case for everybody. And I think this is just, a lot of money. And as far as, it doesn't belong in a residential neighborhood. And the intersection is dangerous. There was a discussion in the report about adding a left turn lane east on Boardman Road. That's not going to help us on Colburn Drive. When that light was changed last time, it made it even harder to get out. We didn't get any help. Our councilwoman didn't do anything to help us. Nobody did anything. So it's a dangerous intersection. It's only going to be worse. And we've lived there for 40 years, and people say, IBM was there before. IBM was there before, but between maybe 7:30 and 8:30, you had peak hours in the morning, and then when everybody left. Now it's constant. I don't know if you've gone past Lord's between 2 o'clock and 2:30. All these parents line up on Boardman Road. Alongside the road, you have to try to make your way through there. That's another issue. I mean, it's all these cumulative impacts, and all of this noise really is a problem. Jay, can you let me know when I have a minute left? If I do.
You got 25 seconds.
Okay, so what about noise from the police firing range? Are we going to hear anything about that? I don't know, but it's a problem, I think, and it really should not be in that area. Oh, and one more thing about the EAF. When they ask about how much rock will be removed from the site, it says to be determined. Well, to be determined, I mean, is this going to be like a small mining operation? You're ending up, it said the cost for that alone would be, rock removal would be about $400,000. That sounds like a lot of rock to be removed. That means more truck traffic. So there's just a lot of impacts. I will be submitting written comments too. Thank you.
Thank you. Giancarlo, you're next.
Good evening, everyone. Giancarlo Oliveris. I live in Jackman Drive. Like you, I'm also an elected official. I represent District 1, Town of Poughkeepsie, in the Dutchess County Legislature. And many of my townspeople and colleagues have already spoken that we all agree that the police deserve a great place to work. Like the brother said, it shouldn't be more hazardous going back to work than it is going on the calls. My biggest issue with not just the tag price, but as you decide to create this police campus, is that what community service programs are going to come out with this campus? We talk about better police relationships. What community service programs are going to come out of it? What is going to come out for the seniors? What is going to come out for the youth? What is going to come out for single parents, young mothers? All of these things are something that we need to think about. Accessibility. How are we going to get there if we got a problem? If I don't have a car, I can't necessarily walk there. if I live in a place that's too far. So accessibility becomes an issue. Somebody mentioned New Paltz. Yes, New Paltz is smaller, but they did it for under $10 million. So I think that we should really, really look at having a public referendum. I know many people in the town may not even know about this. Some people consider the town of Poughkeepsie a sleep town, where many of us work in the city and sleep here in the town of Poughkeepsie. I'm one of those people. I work in Brooklyn, and I come here at 9:30 p.m. after waking up at 5 a.m. So I'm pretty sure that if more people knew about this, a lot of more people would be against this. Saying already that we have traffic issues going on, what is to say if somebody gets hurt during those moments? A student gets run over with a police member going to a call. Somebody gets hurt coming back. Who pays for that? Who gets sued for that? That becomes a big issue as well. So please, please, let's do our due diligence as elected officials and make sure that our townspeople, our constituencies, really get to know about what's going on here and all the options that led us here, that led you guys to the Poughkeepsie Day School. We want to know all those things as well so that we have the transparency. So thank you so much for your time. I truly appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Gene Fleischman?
Good evening, everybody. I'm Gene Fleischman. I live off Boardman Road, but I'm not here to speak because of location. I'm also a retired CPA, and there's this proposal to borrow approximately $55 million to purchase property, renovate various buildings to retrofit the police courts and the town hall. I've calculated the additional annual cost to the town to borrow $55 million over a 25-year period. Of course, these are estimates, but at an interest rate of 4.6%, which is the municipal bond rate according to the most recent edition of Barron's. That annual cost is about $3.7 million, or about 13% of the town's current annual general fund budget. Just the debt service cost adds $13,000 to the budget before we add any other costs associated with the operations of a much larger piece of property. $55 million doesn't reflect the whole cost of this project. According to page 186 of the Mitchell report, the total project cost is estimated to be $73 million, which includes the purchase of the property, extremely significant renovations, furniture and fixtures, office equipment, police department equipment, firing range equipment, exercise equipment, architect, engineer, construction manager, legal and other fees. Where is this additional $18 million coming from? Yes, well, some will hopefully come from the sale of the property, but not the majority of this differential according to estimates. It's got to come from your taxes and my taxes. Full disclosure, I am a registered Democrat. However, I don't see this as a Democrat versus Republican issue. If I were a Republican, I would be against this project. We're all taxpayers, pay a considerable amount of taxes all around, as you've heard already. Our tax money, we want our tax money to be spent efficiently. I see this project as overreach and an unnecessary spending of a significant part of our tax dollars. Thanks for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you.
Jeannie C. something? Sorry, I can't read your writing.
Good evening, I'm Jeannie Chenette, and I live on Carriage Hill Lane. So I'm out on 376 and on the farm, and I'm down that road that we're talking about pretty much all the time. And I'm kind of known as a person who doesn't drive a car, very much at all. And I'm here to speak for the people who are on the edge of the road. And I would like you, as other people are having you consider the logistics of traffic, to consider that there actually are a lot of us that walk along those places. And it's already not very safe, and it's already not very pleasant. There are no sidewalks. There is no way for a person who doesn't have a car or who, because of commitments, decides that they would avoid utilizing a car as much as possible, as I do. I would like to encourage the selection of a site that would give access to as many people as possible, and I would like it to be as safe as possible. I don't know that the study that was done really addressed this, and I would like to just say there are a few of us out there for whom it might mean something like life or death, and I'm not kidding. I wear my yellow vest when I go out. Secondly, I would like to tell you that there have been a few young families who have moved into our neighborhood recently, and I'm thrilled. And even though the people who are here are because they've been here for a while and they're feeling the pinch, I would really just like to have some more young families coming to our town and utilizing the wonderful services that we have, to be in our wonderful schools, to keep them filled. And I think that that's something you want too, probably as much as you want anything else. I appreciate your efforts. I know that you work hard and that you give long hours and that you probably think we're all here like at the last minute. But honestly, these are really important issues, and I hope that you will be willing to take another look at this and be looking at it through some of our eyes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mary Ann Cunningham?
Thank you for your time. I agree with a lot of the points that have been made thus far, largely about safety, about increases in traffic, about the amount of road rebuilding that's going to be required, implied by the project. Excuse me. I think that there's a lot of agreement that further discussion, further transparency, and a referendum to vote on this process would be welcomed by the community. And in that process, I guess the things that I'd like to say is that it would be really helpful if we had more information about the details going forward. The numbers that I've seen for the project have slipped back and forth between like 38 to 70 to 50 to 60 million dollars. Like, the numbers have been shifting around a lot. The scope of the project has been shifting around a lot. The things that are attendant costs that are not included are we've been speculating a lot, but we don't know. There have been some estimates that the cost will be, the addition to our taxes will be sort of on the order of 10% or so per each household. Let's say that comes to $1,000 per household, maybe it's $2,000 over 25 years. Let's say we're talking $25,000, $50,000 per household, but I'm spending $25,000 on something. Like, I look pretty carefully at what the options are and what the attendant costs are. This particular project, in the report that I was looking at a couple weeks ago, the entire project is meant to increase about 70% in size, right? So 70% more office space, 70% more square footage, 70% more buildings. Does that imply that we're going to have 70% more staff working in the offices, 70% more maintenance costs, 70% greater tax base to cover this? There's just a lot of questions that I think would really be helpful for us to have a better understanding about, not only in terms about the cost itself of the project itself, but also of the attendant cost of maintaining, managing it all and going forward. I appreciate your giving time for this hearing. I know that the current station was a poor decision that people regret now, and we want to certainly make sure that we don't make another poor decision that people regret going forward. I think we all agree that the police deserve a safe and healthy, accessible space to be. I think that the community also deserves an accessible space where there is public transportation, where it's easy for the whole public to get there, where there's not traffic jams and conflicts with the community, conflicts with schools a half mile away, and all those other issues. So I really appreciate your time, and I hope that there'll be a lot more information forthcoming so that we can make an informed and multi-option weighing process going forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Brad Cookingham?
Good evening. Thank you for your time. I want to introduce myself. My name is Brad Cookingham. I am not only a police officer here in the town of Poughkeepsie, but I am a taxpayer in the town of Poughkeepsie as well. And I have been ever since I took employment in the town of Poughkeepsie 14 years ago. I lived in Beechwood Park, I lived in Flower Hill, and I now live in Casper Kill Ridge. One of the things that I do for the town of Poughkeepsie Police Department is I am a detective with the town of Poughkeepsie Police Department. And one of the responsibilities that we have as detectives is to conduct background investigations on future employees or police officers in the town of Poughkeepsie or civilians. It is recently, with the current environment of law enforcement, become more of a recruitment. Whereas 14 years ago, I was climbing over mountains to get to my job here in the town of Poughkeepsie. The stacks were extremely high for people that wanted to come work in the town of Poughkeepsie Police Department. And as every police department in Dutchess County can attest for, those stacks of applications have gotten smaller. It's no reflection really upon this police agency, because I think it's outstanding. That's why I choose to work here. But one of the things that I would like to remind everybody is that when we do these background investigations, we give people a tour of the building. I encourage anybody that might be opposed to this police department to set up an appointment. I'm sure our chief will make that accessible, and you get a tour of the building to look into some of the police applicants' eyes when they see 4-inch gaps underneath the walls, or when you walk down the hallway, it's sideways, and see ceiling tiles out of the building. And as you heard, as you heard from Paul Herman, which is a retired member, there's some health concerns with people that have worked in the building for a long period of time. I say that because a lot of people are addressing safety as an issue and a concern over the new proposal. I ask and implore you to think of the safety of the people that come and go from the building, the safety of the police officers and the civilians that have to work in the building, as we are concerned about our health, and we are concerned about the people that come and go from the building. As a taxpayer, I also understand your point and perspective on raised and increased taxes in the town. And some people have reflected upon the point that their taxes have gone up. And just like everybody else's, mine have done so as well. But so has my property value. One of the other issues that I would like to address, no, I'm going to leave it there. I just actually one final point is it seems to become a bickering session sometimes when we have a project of this magnitude. And I just like to remind some of the people as well that the people that sit on the town board, to be able to sit on the town board, you have to be a town resident. So not only are the people opposed to this project taxes affected, but so are the people on the town board. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That ends the list I have of people that actually signed up here in the audience. Do you have some kind of a list going there, or? Okay, was there anybody in the audience that had a real urge that they wanted to speak before I move to the many people that are on Zoom? Please raise your hand if that is so. I see someone in the back. Come on up.
Thank you for scheduling a public hearing. I'm Jean-Claude, been in town of Poughkeepsie for 34 years, happily so. I have, on average, respect for the work you've done. I know that John is a small business owner. So John, I'm sure you have a good sense of how the community feels about taxes and the like. However, I must say I'm highly disappointed by the proposal that you are moving forward for a number of reasons. One, very little public information was distributed. Second, no alternative for the relocation of the police office has been put forward. Third, as somebody has reminded us, the school of Raymond Avenue was available to you for relocating the police department. It's extremely well located, of 44, and you could have done it several years back when the rate of the interest rate was 2%. So in my view, John, you have missed an opportunity, and now you're trying to catch it up with a nonsensical project. And frankly, John, having voted for you a number of times, I'm disappointed that you can put forward such a project with, apparently you take it seriously. And I suggest to our police officers, for whom I have a lot of respect, I think we have a very good police officers. I invite you to drive Spakenkill and Borman between 7:30 and 8:30 in the morning, and put yourself in the shoes that you have to respond to an accident. Then tell me how you feel about it, and please relay this information to John and the other councilmen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else before I go to the Zoom? Come on up.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, my name is Lynn Wolantowitz, and I am going to be very simple. This needs to be voted by the public, period. The public will feel bamboozled, and the police should not be waiting. To hear what they're dealing with is appalling. Appalling. How many more people do you need to hear from today? What are the options? How did this morph from these poor police need to get the heck out of there to everybody has to get out of there and go to a mansion on the end of the road that I live on? And let me just tell you something. Crest that hill. That is a blind hill. I cannot begin to tell you, and my little 12-year-old who sits in the back, how many near head-on collisions we see every single day. I have 16 and 17-year-old lords, inexperienced kids driving down that road, and like people said, it is jam-packed when moms and dads pick their kids up from that school. We have adult daycare on that road. We have a public library and an assisted living facility where husbands and wives in their 80s come to visit their family. This has to be the public's decision, and that's all I'm going to say, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? I'm going to go to Zoom. Is there anybody on Zoom that would like to speak? I'm sure there's probably going to be 9 hands at one time, but Craig, you did have your hand up earlier, so we'll go with you.
Thank you so much. Hello, my name is Craig Brenly. I am the county legislator for District 8, which is a portion of the Spakenkill area. Like most here, I agree that we need a new police station. Given the conditions at the current building, it would be advantageous to find a building in a more appropriate location that requires much less development. One where we could get the police and the courts in there more quickly. Additionally, I am here tonight because I am concerned about the purchase of the Poughkeepsie Day School property and the very large construction costs. Beyond the location concerns, constituents are concerned about not only the $8 million resolution to purchase the property, but the nearly $55 million total future cost for this municipal campus. Given that the town of Poughkeepsie is among the highest tax municipalities in the county, we should be cautious about the cost of projects because the bill will ultimately be footed by the taxpayers. I think it would be best for the town board to go back to the drawing board and look at more reasonably priced options. Yes, we need more, we do need a police station, but we don't need a new town hall. I believe that the board can achieve what is necessary for a lower cost and thus saving the taxpayers money. If a roughly 10% tax increase is what is in the cards here, it's what is on the table, then a referendum should be considered strongly. Thank you for your time. Take care.
Anybody else on Zoom that would like to speak? Please raise your hand.
Yes, hello.
Michelle? Is that you?
This is Michelle.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay. I just really, I want to ask, first of all, I have no property skin in the game here, but I care about our residents, and people who've heard me speak in town councils know that. So the question I want to ask is, has the board ever participated in the town council public hearing meeting when a vote was already decided? And that's the overarching question we have here. I'm calling based on the telecommunications compound plan for that area, 244 Boardman, with 5G and 3 other antenna and radiation emitting equipment with more on the way. Okay? So you'll have our police and town staff moving from one hotbed of RF microwave radiation, because I've measured both places, to another where you're going to put up a 5G equipment. So you're moving the police to save them? I don't think so. Okay? This does not make sense. Moving them from one place that I've measured that's horrible, and it does have health effects, people are aware of this or not, and then moving them to somewhere else where there's even more? This is nuts. Andrew Campanelli, who's a nationally known anti-tower attorney, gets hundreds of calls a week from people suffering health effects from wireless tech. And he said, knowing what he knows now, you couldn't pay him enough to live or work within 1,500 or 1,600 square feet of this kind of infrastructure. So saving the health of police that's a fraudulent premises right there. I read your intention of putting the property under a town council as lead agency. That gives me zero assurance, especially what our town and zoning board did in our town center on Raymond Avenue is a crime. You all approved multiple antenna in a zone that required special, a special permission for over 12,000 microwatts per meter squared, which is on the 5G spectrum. We were told it's not 5G, and it is. So we're gonna now have this 13 acres now. It's gonna be a type 2 action, I'm sure. It's not gonna require NEPA review, which the FCC said is required and advised for any new telecommunications infrastructure. But that's not gonna be done, okay? And the reason why I think is because $53,000 or $43,000 comes to the town right away in the forms of leases to help pay for, I don't know, construction costs, but you're harming people while you're accepting this money from the carriers. Okay, so this development is actually, in my opinion, a form of harassment on homeowners. So if anybody knows about Agenda 2130, it's about the strategy to push out private homeownership and create a society where you'll own nothing and you'll be happy. One way to do it is to raise taxes. People get taxed out of their homes. Okay, so they're using, in my opinion, the proliferation of telecom facilities as a way to accomplish this throughout our town. People are getting sick. and they can't work, and then they lose their homes, and then you have all these abandoned buildings. That's happening all along Route 44 for one reason or another. And, you know, the police are getting ill, town staff has illness, you guys have a
Michelle,
stealth
can you wrap it
tower
up?
dressed up as a flagpole right in your parking lot, and you're gonna have more when you move. So, and the final point I wanna make is, we do not have insurance to adequately answer or cover health risks for RF microwave radiation where our employees, our first responders, and residents will be treated to. All you need is 8 lawsuits for $1 million each, and that would basically drain the property value of this 13-acre site for both the town and property values
Michelle,
of
can you wrap it up?
the residents. Right.
Thank you, Michelle.
This whole development needs to be rethought, and please don't use stuff like this to raise the alarms of property owners, and then you stick something else in there to give them the feeling that they have say. Don't do that either. Let's
Thank
have
you.
smart development.
Thank you, Michelle.
And I'm not the person right now to tell you what kind of development that would be, but it's certainly not for those telecom facilities that are planned like a little compound there.
Thank you,
Michelle,
Michelle.
wrap
And
it up,
I
please.
already know people who are getting ill in the area, so let's take a look at that, please. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Is there anybody else on Zoom that would like to speak? Please raise your hand. Raymond? Raymond, go ahead. Raymond, you need to unmute, P-O-L-V-I, I can't see your last name, but, yes. Go ahead, Raymond.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
I'm also very much against the purchase of the day school. It's not the right place. We're changing a quiet residential area into an active business area. The first gentleman that talked was right on. It ought to be in an area where other business goes on. It's going to be inaccessible to anybody who can't drive. There's no bus route through there. The road itself is too narrow. It was never designed for high traffic, and in fact, if you drive on it, you will notice the left side drops down steeply and the right side climbs up, and widening it is going to be a difficult situation. And if you've ever been on it when the high school has let out, there are at least a dozen buses there coming out of it. Now, if the police department had to move rapidly down to Spackenkill Road, he couldn't. I have, the gentleman on the council, I have downloaded and tried to read the Mitchell report and the JMP report, but that's slightly over 300 pages. We need summaries of that put forth. And if what is being proposed is happening, it's going to be a town center. We don't need one there. The expenses are awfully high. I guess that's all I need to say. The road is a particular problem. By the way, right now, the road review said the turning situation is, if you remember grades, rated F, failure. And they were estimating the turning times during construction time would be in the order of minutes waiting. So other locations and need to be considered. But the first gentleman's points were well taken. It needs to be in an area where other activities are occurring. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else there on Zoom that would like to raise their hand and speak? Eve? Eve Gendron, go ahead, unmute yourself.
Hi, good evening. Couple of quick things. I have looked at the proposal materials that were posted on the town's website. And I will say that I think it's a little disingenuous to suggest that the town has been sort of open and made all this material available to us, because this has in fact been a little bit hush-hush, and there's a reason that everyone is here tonight reacting the way that they are. I do encourage people to look at that material, but I will also say that I do appreciate the amount of work that's gone into producing that feasibility study. As an architect, I have experience with feasibility studies, with master planning, with projects of this nature. And I know that in order to be successful, this kind of work requires the input of all the stakeholders, and it requires that input from the beginning. It's very unfortunate that there was not more open dialogue prior to now that allowed the community to hear what the options were and to give their input and their feedback back to those who were working on the study. We, the community, the taxpayers, the residents of the town, are in fact the feasibility study's client. We are effectively the property owners in this situation. Also, in my experience as an architect, unfortunately, I will say that it's worth bearing in mind that as upsetting as the budget and the time frame for this project are, the reality is that most likely both of those are going to increase, because that's what happens. That any number we're looking at now is likely to only get larger, both in terms of budget and in terms of time. And as many people have said very well, the police department doesn't have the time. The project needs to be something that satisfies their needs and needs to do it quickly and needs to do it efficiently. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else on Zoom that would like to raise their hand? While I'm waiting for someone from Zoom to raise their hand, is there anybody else in the audience that feels like they wanted to speak and did not get it, not able? Do you see anybody on Zoom?
No.
No? Going to give you guys one more chance to raise your hand if you'd like to speak. Start to speak and that'll make your box light up. Either one, if you don't know how to do the raise your hand. Raymond, you already spoke. Did you have more to add? We were really looking for anybody else that has not spoken yet. I'm not seeing anybody.
Nope. Make a motion to close the hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0 to close the hearing. Just like to make a few comments before we go on. This started back in 2018, 2019 with the original study. And after the first study was done, which was a joint effort with Arlington Fire and the town of Poughkeepsie, we did hold a meeting over in the town of Poughkeepsie Police Community Room with Mitchell and Associates and staff. And we had a decent turnout that night. People came in, we gave them a tour of the police station, know where they're going. And at that point, everybody was, I think, in favor of what everybody in this room was in favor of. The police department needs to move. It should have never been put there. There's nobody on this board that had anything to do with it going there, going forward. We did look at multiple options as we went through with this. We started with going back to IBM Country Club, meeting with Ginsburg. We looked at Price Chopper Plaza before it started to build the right side of Price Chopper Plaza. We also looked where the Mazda dealership was to take over that piece, which was the old mobile home park, and the piece in the back, which is about 11 acres. We also looked at the circle down at IBM, right across from Hudson Valley Federal Credit Union, and that location was not large enough due to the fact that there was some space in there we couldn't use. I'm trying to remember if it was drainage or I think it was wetlands also. We also met with IBM, looking for some spare buildings that IBM may have had available, and they told us at this time they were going through a master plan and they had nothing available. We looked at the IBM training building, which is directly behind CVS, which is about a 6 or 7 story building, which when we asked for the price to purchase that, we were told it was like $45 million just to purchase the building. The guy didn't want to talk to us, plus the property was not big enough. We also looked at the church on Spackenkill Road, which was one of our first locations. And we did also look at that location. And somebody also called and told us to look at Kmart, which, as we all know, that is the furthest thing from where the town wanted to be. And going forward, we're looking at this and talking to the police department and listening to people through the master plan, through different avenues. We thought that Boardman Road was a good location. In fact, you have the library there, which you are bringing people to the library, and the school, and it is an access point in the middle, accessible to a state road, which is right alongside where, the building is going to be built. And dealing with people during the master plan, they thought we needed more recreation. So we added the recreation factor. When that came about, we looked at the day school, and the day school called us and actually turned us away for a while. And then they came back, and we went back to the day school because we had a desire to go there in the beginning. They reached out from us. A couple of board members reached out to us in the beginning. So we did go back, we left, and we came back to the day school as we looked at all these other locations going around. And looking at the education, on the recreation factor, everybody has told us as we meet, go door to door, that we need more fields. There are fields there which are a benefit. They also said the town of Poughkeepsie this size should have more to offer the residents. Our senior center, which we put in place about 6 years ago over on Southgate Drive, now is used almost every night of the week for all different organizations and groups, whether it's Little League, Girl Scouts, or they use the space almost every night to the point where that's overpacked. This would give them access to that space also. The town of Poughkeepsie has no fields for football, lacrosse, which they have also reached out to us, along with other things. We do not have access to any inside venue whatsoever for our day camp, which is held at Greenville Park right now. Whether good weather, bad weather, it's also held down there and it's outside. That was a benefit for that. And we're under the impression that, having the gym, it also opens us up to basketball and fall sports, winter sports. What was that?
It's Michelle.
Oh, among
Michelle,
oth-
please mute.
Among other items, that was accessible. And we did look at this, as different locations, and we did look at the price tag, which originally, came back at almost $70 million. That we said at this point, Town Hall does not need to move. We thought putting everybody in the campus in the same location was a good idea to get everybody in there, so we're all working together. We're in a good spot. We're in a central location of the town for people who live down below in the southern end of town. They wouldn't have to travel almost 20 minutes to get to either Town Hall or the police station. When we saw the price, we rolled it back and said Town Hall will stay where it is currently, and we will work on just putting the police court facility in where it is now. Because as we all said, and everybody said here tonight, the police court facility has to move. It's a substandard building. This board here is the only board that has taken a step, and it's taken years. Government does not move fast. This study started back in 2018, 2019. Look, we also looked at Sears, and as somebody mentioned, back with the master plan. One of the issues with Sears is if that mall is failing and that mall fails, what do we do with a police court facility and a town hall in that location if and when somebody wants to take over the location? Do we have to move in 5 years again because somebody's buying the whole property? Sears was up for sale for $7.5 million on a leased piece of property that would not give you any land. So you have to work on a lease agreement with Sears. So we did look at that. Was one of the last locations we had that we looked at. So we looked at multiple locations as this went on. And I brought up at just about every committee, the whole meeting that the town had, where we stood and what we were looking at, how many times we met with the architects. And on the committee was Bill Carlos and Stefan Kracker were the two that sat in the committee was as we went forward and worked with our planning department to move forward on this. One of the other comments was the town board taking control. No, the town board would be the lead agency and it would still be referred to our planning department as long as the Dutchess County Planning Department also. The town would just be the lead agency. We would not be in total control of where we're going. And last but not least, we put as much information as possible on the website. I know everybody doesn't watch the website, and one of the factors that we do have an issue with, and the Journal did a great job, but of everybody in this room, probably only 2% read the Journal. They did a great job, it's a great article on this, discussing what we're doing and where we're going forward. The problem with the price tag, I agree, is extremely high. We looked at IBM almost 15 years ago. That's a project we probably should have jumped on back then, and the same thing happened. Everybody looked at the price tag and said, we can't do it. If we don't do it sooner or later, the price tag, I think Ms. Gendron mentioned, is not going down. You know, and we can't tell you if we think we're gonna get grant money. We can't put that out there because we don't have any yet. But we are gonna reach out to everybody possible, like we have with every other project the town has, whether it's sewer or water, to get all the possible grant money going forward. And we think this is definitely a positive for the residents with all the other features that are added that I think our residents of the town of Poughkeepsie deserve. As one of the county legislators stated, what programs we're gonna have. We'll now have space to offer programs. This building is full. You know, we've condensed, we brought all our employees in here, this building's full. We're not looking to expand the space, but if you go down to recreation, our recreation department is full. They're squished in 3 little tiny offices with engineering behind them. This is a tight space. So we're not looking to expand employees, grow employees. We're looking to expand our services to our residents and give our police department a good, feasible place to work, and the residents that have to come to our courts, a place to come that's safe and feasible also. Any other board members, any other comments?
So, first, I would like to see if we could possibly just adjourn this public hearing, first of all, so we can digest all the information that we received here tonight.
Yes. 1989. I'm sorry, 1984. I was appointed to a committee by Anna Buckholz to study the police station. 94, 2004, 2014, 2024. Almost 40 years ago, this town has been struggling with this problem. We went down to Sears. If anybody has an idea where they think we could do or look at, I'm here, call me, tell me, I'll stay right here. This is a significant problem. We all own houses, we all pay taxes. Do you think I really want to raise my own taxes? These problems have to be solved. And I think the collective, all of us together, will probably come up with a better idea. 1983, we were told nothing should be put on the old dump. Nothing. I left, I took a job down in another county, and guess where our police station is? Where we were told not to put it. Please, if you have an idea, if you don't want to talk in front of everybody, get any way you have to. I think we all need to put our heads together and come up with a solution to this. We can't let it go anymore. Thank you, Mr. Supervisor.
Yeah?
I just want to say thank you, Phil. Thank you for everybody coming down here and sharing your thoughts and ideas. Obviously, this is a issue that's close to your hearts. There's a great turnout here tonight. I too live in the town, obviously, and I pay high taxes as well. But as referenced earlier, you know, our home prices have gone up. So, i.e. the value of our homes have gone up. So, you know, everything's costing a lot of money these days. And if we wait much longer, any comparable piece of property is going to cost the same. And the priority is the police department and getting them out. We all know this. We're all on the same page there. So if we can all agree that that is, you know, of the best interest of the police department to move them, then, you know, this is the way to go, you know, after the due diligence that we've done. Thank you.
Mr. Sloan.
I appreciate everybody coming out as well. And like I said, I'm glad we were able to fill you in on the other properties that have been looked at. So we'll see where we go with this. Thank you.
Yeah.
I too have had great concerns about this project, and I think it's been an error all along that we didn't look just to move the police and the courts. The original study was done to combine the town hall and Arlington Fire District and the police and courts together on one site. So that is an immense project, and it needed a bigger space. And this one too, we are looking at moving the town hall, initially the town hall with the police department and the courts to the Poughkeepsie Day School. And there are still, now that we've removed the town hall portion, there are still spaces left in the school for where the town will be moved in, and also spaces left
well, actually, the whole Kenya House left open. So instead of concentrating on just moving the police there and trying to make this as economical as possible, I mean, right now, there's a plan to build a 2-story building connecting to the school for the police and a large garage out back. It adds to the cost of the project. Instead of trying to fill in all the space in the school as efficiently as possible and use the Kenyon House to reduce the amount of construction, probably reducing the cost of this project, that was not done. The spaces are left there for the town hall to eventually down the road to be moved. So I think the mistake made is not concentrate just on the police and courts and finding a position where they can go. And I mean, our neighbor across the river, New Paltz, did it for $8 million. And granted, it's not the prettiest building. It kind of looks like our building. It kind of looks like a retrofitted warehouse. But it's functional, and it was more cost efficient.
Anything else? What I'll add to that is, when we did this study, and your comments about the school were well taken. When we looked at the school originally, yes, we thought we could move in. We met with the court system, architect, and engineers to tell us what we have to do to make it a feasible building. By today's standards, our police department now takes criminals from one side of the building right through the normal building to the other side. The architects that we did hire do this for a living of how the flow is to safely keep our officers safe at all times. This was not haphazardly done, and Ann, you sat through this whole discussion for the last year and a half and made 0 comments until the price came out about anything being done, and you didn't refer to anywhere else that we should have looked, we would have taken that. All these names off the list either came from brokers or different people that called us to look at, we did look at them. We looked as much as, once this study was done, we went to Sears and looked. But with that said, I take what Mr. Renahan asked, and we table the vote till next week, so they get a chance to digest everything that everybody here has said. And if anybody here has any other actual individual questions that they want answered, I think everybody on this board has it. My office is open. My phone is there. I know I've reached out to some of the residents that already called. I have no problem talking to anybody on an individual basis. They don't understand where we came up with the numbers and how it came about. Feel free to call, and we'll bring it to next week. And as Mr. Carlos said, do you have any other ideas that you think are even a lot better than what we've come to the conclusion to? Please come forward and bring it forward. We take what you all say, granted, because we're all taxpayers here also, but our police department is our main concern right now, is to get them out of that building. So we have to move forward one way or another. So the time is of the essence, not just to sit here and push this off for 6 or 9 months. We've been talking about this for close to 3 years now.
40 years.
4 years, so it has to go forward. So I'd like to make a motion to table this till next week.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank everybody for coming out tonight. And if you have any questions, seriously, please reach out to any one of us.
Before we start on the agenda, can we take like a 5-minute bathroom break?
Yeah, go ahead. We'll take a 5-minute break and we'll come back at 8:48.
I gotta go too.
Thank you, Jeffrey.